to another Power Talk with Archana. Today I have with me the search engine optimization guru. Damon is a part of my professional network based in Utah, United States. He's the superman of the media industry who beat a $1 billion company almost a decade ago by outranking them on Google. The president of SEO National, he writes for Forbes, has been featured in publications including Entrepreneur Magazine, BuzzFeed, USA Weekly, and has helped high profile clients make more money than they used to in a year. He's the search engine optimization guru who's here to help all of us out notch up our game without emptying out huge money from our pockets. Let's welcome my very special guest, Damon, on board. Hello, Damon. How are you doing?
Hey, Archana, thanks for the opportunity to chat.
Good. So looking forward to speak to you and spread awareness and light up the game of search engine optimization. Great, Damon. Damon, everybody has been talking about how companies can still appear on the first two searches on Google without having to pay for Google ads. Now, what is that trick that you have been working on and making and helping companies make lots of money? Please share it with my audience.
Yeah, there's a couple things we can talk about. So when you go to Google, there's a few results that show up. So if there's a paid ad, there can be 0 paid ads, but no more than 4 at the top. And then after that is the organic, the non-paid results. And so that's where I work on, is building up the credibility of a website to be in those non-paid results. So what's interesting though is even with the paid ads, even though they technically can show up higher, they actually get clicked on less than the organic results. So the organic results get 10 to 40 times more clicks depending on the industry. And it's because visitors kind of ignore the ads. Most people do because they know that they're a paid ad. So to show up higher in those spots, there's a lot that goes into it, but it's primarily 2 types of things. One of those things is the reputation of your website, what's called on-page optimization. So how quickly does it load? Is it mobile friendly? Does it have good content? And then the second category is what's called off-page optimization. So that is external credibility. Do other websites link to you or talk to you? Do you show up in the news? So it's a combination of the on-page and off-page, building up the reputation of the site over time is how you end up showing up in those spots.
Wow, I think that's a lot. I mean, this is the first time I'm hearing about on-page and off-page reputation of your website, something really interesting. And I'm sure my audience would love to explore this. In fact, audience, you must note, Damon has been giving free workshops to people to understand what is this search engine optimization all about. So that is something you must catch on. Great. So Damon, tell me one thing. What is the secret of having huge number of followers that grow organically and you don't even have to pay for it? So what is this, gambit all about where you can create that kind of traffic on your website or maybe even on your LinkedIn pages?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you can kind of divide this into a couple different topics. So your social media following and followers is different than your organic traffic on your website. Now, your followers can contribute to your traffic, but I think probably what the question is, how do you grow a social media following organically?
Right.
And so where I've found success is through what's called social proof, which is kind of giving away your expertise without expecting anything in return. So I had actually turned off all of my social media profiles a couple of years ago because I'm a pretty private person as far as my personal life. And so I didn't really want to put out, things about my wife and kids on Facebook. And so I disabled all that. But then I realized, well, maybe I can still use it, but more on the business side and showcase my expertise and help people with SEO questions. And so I turned everything back on and focused more on giving away all that advice for free. And so what happened is within the first 12 months, that increased sales by another 6 figures. And that was without doing any sales pitches. And so what I mean is I would get on there and I would answer questions, or I would do a post that would say, here's how to solve an SEO problem. And I would not ask them to click on my website. I would not send them to a funnel. I would not have any call to action. I would just give that advice. And so what would happen is my audience would grow, or people would tag other people in the comments and bring them into my network. So when I connect with people on LinkedIn, I don't spam them with messages to go to my website. I don't live in the private messages. I just want them in my network so then they can be exposed to my content, which shows them my expertise, which builds trust. And so then when they need SEO, then I stay top of mind. And then we've also established
Yes.
a relationship. And so they're more willing to proceed with doing SEO.
Wow, I think that's a very, very intelligent move, Damon, there. I mean, being a giver in itself is something really huge and something which everybody welcomes today. And I think that's a very intelligent way of telling people, hello, I have an expertise and you can definitely make a lot of benefit out of it.
Yeah.
Lovely, great. I think that's really amazing. Great thought there, Damon. Damon, people have been talking a lot about a great content. If there is a
Hmm.
great content, that's another way of creating traffic on your websites or your LinkedIn pages. What do you have to add to this? I mean, is that really something that really makes a lot of difference to help people stay on the mind of the clients all along?
Yeah, it helps because Google wants to provide an answer to the customer, to the searcher. So the more unique content you have that solves that problem or answers that question, then the more Google is likely to show your website, because Google wants to provide the good answer. So then that searcher says, wow, Google helped me solve that problem quickly. Next time I'm going to come back to
Yes.
them again. So it builds it builds a relationship between Google and the searcher. And so the more that you help Google look good, the more they will show you. So it's kind of like the same thing we talked about social proof, where you give away advice freely and build that expertise up. You can do that same thing with search engines through blog posts and content creation, as long as it's unique. Don't focus on
Yeah.
just producing a bunch of blog. Don't focus on quantity without the quality. It'd be better to do, 2 or 3 pieces a month that are really well written, instead of doing 10 a month that are just short and not well researched, not unique, don't have any added value. So content can go a long way. It's a little bit of a slow play, because
Yeah.
it takes time to write it, takes time to distribute it, takes time for Google to see the content. But once it starts seeing that you're consistent with it, then it'll accelerate a little quicker.
No, I think that's quite right. You've actually put it the right way. It's important to create that value for people to know that yes, Google can solve. So actually, we are working for Google all along, honestly. Great. I mean, that's it. Actually a very important message out there. So make sure that your content is absolutely unique and solves a purpose, solves a
Yep.
problem for the person who visits that site. Great. Lovely. So, what are the kind of website changes you would suggest, so that people engage and the websites come to life completely? What changes would you suggest for two people on their websites?
It's actually probably opposite of what many people would think. I would say to not add more things. I would say to remove things. So the more simplistic your website is, the easier it is for your visitors to navigate. And then also, the more items that you remove, the quicker the page speed becomes. So a lot of the times, usually the most simplistic, clean website performs and has higher conversions than the crazy design ones. Now, they might look really cool, but it doesn't
Yeah.
increase your conversions. It slows down the page. So I'm not saying there aren't websites that
Okay.
look amazing, but they don't perform as well compared to a simplistic website. So I would actually focus on being really clear in what your value is, really clear in your call to action, really clear in whether it's a button or a phone number or a form, and focus on holding the hand of your customer, your searcher, your visitor, to get them immediately to the answer or the solution that they're looking for. So I would focus on simplicity more than adding new things.
Wow, I think this is a quite a lighting a bulb kind of a thing. Wow, I mean this is really amazing. I don't think anybody has ever thought about it. Making a website which is very clean. It talks about call to action everywhere. Something
Yeah.
which is very simple because it definitely doesn't eat up a lot of time loading and uploading. I think this is really amazing. Something new. So audience,
Yeah.
this is something you really need to watch out on and make sure that your websites are much cleaner, and very simple, so that they don't take much time to load, and also have call to action each time so that your customer, the client, can navigate from one end to the other very smoothly.
Hmm.
Absolutely great. Lovely. So I have also heard, Damon, people are talking about a lot of broken links or dead pages or the active
Hmm.
pages. Does that contribute on the website's poor performance on Google search, or what are these things that really creates a havoc?
Yeah, it can, because it goes back to what we said where, Google wants to present a website that has a good user experience, because then that makes Google look good. So the problem is, if Google sends a searcher to your website and then they go to your website and they hit a dead page or they start clicking on broken links, then that's not a good experience. And so Google will, uh, they may not penalize you for it. They just won't reward you for it as much as another website that doesn't have that bad experience. And so Google
Mhm.
basically says, treat us like a customer. And so customers don't like poor experiences. They don't like clicking on dead pages. They don't like slow loading websites. So all those things that you as a listener don't like about websites, Google doesn't like those things easier. So there are obviously a lot of more technical things that go into SEO, but
Yeah.
the really simplistic understanding is just do things that you like yourself, fix problems that you don't like to see yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're quite right there. Nobody would like to go to a page that doesn't say anything. If we click on it, it should take us, navigate us from one information to the other so that the experience is more engaging rather than finding ourselves in a no man's space. I think
Mhm.
that's absolutely right. So tell me one thing, Damon, everybody today is going towards the digital world. The digitization is the word today.
Mhm.
People are not moving out of their house. All businesses, in fact even homemakers, they have come up with their websites, maybe selling things on e-commerce. A lot of women are started writing blogs. People have started writing blogs. Students have
Yeah.
started writing blogs. So what are those tools you would want people to understand so that it creates a magic there, and they get attention from people? Their effort should not go waste.
Yeah, if you're going to write, like we said before, focus on solving problems or unique content. And there's a good free tool called answerthepublic.com. What that website does is it helps you better understand what your customers and buyers and visitors, it helps you get into their mind a little bit, because it collects data from, one example is if you go to Google and you start typing out a search, and then it says, well, I think you might want one of these other 5 results. And it does what's
Yeah.
called autocomplete. So what autocomplete Google is telling you, well, most of the time when somebody starts typing the words that you've typed, they want one of these things. And so that is Google very clearly telling you what a lot of people search about. And so Answer the Public will use data like that, and it'll tell you the who, what, when, where, and why, and all these different things about your keywords. So whatever it is that you want to write about, don't guess what to write about. Go type that word in Answer the Public and see what types of questions and problems your audience is already asking to be solved.
Wow.
And then that way
Yeah.
you can write about a very specific topic instead of just guessing.
Wow, I think that's really intelligent. Audience, I think this is something very intelligent Damon has brought forward. We need not just keep thinking and racking our brains about what we need to write about and worry about our content. The moment we type something there, there's so many host of options that appear, and that's what your game plan is. We need to stick to that, so that because people are waiting to hear that. And that is what we need to write our blog on. Lovely, great. David, tell me one thing. There is something called schema.
Mhm.
What is that all about?
So schema, before I define it, let me kind of explain what Google does when it comes to your website. So when Google comes to your website, it reads the content and then it looks for links. And then when it sees the links, it follows those to the next page and then reads the content again. And then it repeats that. And so when it's reading your website, it says, I think that this page is about A, B, and C. And then it goes to the next page and it says, I think this page is about X, Y, and Z. Now, obviously, Google is super smart. And so it's pretty accurate in what it thinks and assumes. But what Schema does is a little snippet of code. You don't see it on the page, it's just in the code. And it tells Google, no, I don't want you to think that this is ABC. I am very specifically telling you it is for sure ABC. So you use
Oh,
Schema on things like your phone number, your address, your product titles, your product prices. So when Google comes to a product website without excuse me, without Schema, it says, I think this is the product name. I think this is the product price. But when you wrap the schema code within it, then it says,
okay.
I am telling you for certain this is a product name. This is a product price. So it helps Google understand more confidently what your content or product information is about.
I think we all are working for Google here. Oh my God, we're simplifying Google's job, huh?
Yeah.
Damon, are we hoping to have another Internet Explorer by the name Damon? Because you have completely, you have completely, I mean, I think Google should be worried now, yeah? His game is over, is it?
No, no. I mean, I think it's just the SEO is really just simple things. Yes, there's technical things, but it's really just good content, good user experience, and good credibility. I mean, even all these new things that come out, like voice search, like that is still the answers from that voice search is still coming from good content. And so all these new things that come along, if you just stick to becoming really efficient at the core concepts of SEO, then you don't have to worry about all these new things and these new algorithms because all they are doing is trying to improve the quality. So if you just focus on that to begin with, then you can kind of minimize worrying about all these new algorithms and changes and whatever else is new.
Yeah, right. Very well said. Great. Okay, so Damon, tell me something about how can we restrict people spamming our inboxes? Is there any way to do that? Is there
Well,
any trick to it?
if it's on a contact form, on your website, then depending on how your website is built, there's, a lot of listeners probably use WordPress. So I'll give a WordPress example. On WordPress, if you use a plugin called Contact Form 7, which is a popular contact plugin, in that there is an ability to turn on what's called a honeypot. Now, what a honeypot is, which is different than CAPTCHA, we've all seen CAPTCHA where you have to input a math equation or click on something.
Right.
So that the problem with CAPTCHA though is it's bothersome or it's annoying or you can make a mistake. And what the difference is a honeypot, it's called a honeypot because they're talking about attracting bees to honey. And so you're attracting spam to your trap. And so what it is it's a little hidden piece of code. It's basically like if you have a form that says name, email, and phone, there's also a hidden field that you as a searcher, you as a visitor don't see with the human eye, but in the code, the bots see a field. And so they fill it out. And so what it does is it triggers and says, well, real people, if this was a real person, they couldn't see that, they couldn't fill it out. So a real person will let them through because that field is empty because they didn't see it. But if that field gets completed and filled out, only a bot could do that because only a bot can see it in the code. So if that honeypot is triggered, then your WordPress website won't even bother you. They'll say, I know this is spam, I'm not going to send it. And so you can eliminate that. So obviously you can use CAPTCHA, but I use honeypot on any plugins where it's available or any contact forms where it's available. Because then it's not intrusive, right? Because it just takes care of itself. We're not annoying the real customers, but it still solves the problem of the bots and the spam.
Wow, lovely. So my audience, here's another hack from Damon, the search engine optimization guru. Great, lovely. So Damon, tell us something about your book. Your book is already a hit. You have been on so many publications. What is your book talking about? What is it my audience can really catch hold of in that book? What's the secret?
The book was fun to write. That was new because I write a lot online, but this is the first time I wrote a book. So what I did is I took all of the processes of my company at SEO National and then I put them in a guideline. But I also didn't want to have the book be boring because an SEO book doesn't really sound that exciting. And so what I did is I also shared stories of how I got into SEO, some of the websites that I built. We talked about outranking a $1 billion company, so I share that story. And so I try to share fun stories so it keeps your attention, but also emphasizes the power of SEO. And so the further you get into the book, then the more details it goes into about how to actually accomplish those things.
Wow, our best wishes to you, and we hope to keep, getting more and more books from your mastermind there and help people. Great, that's absolutely lovely, Damon. Damon, what is those figures that you're all the time talking about saving the money, of the big corporate clients? How do you help them save money?
Well, there's a difference between traffic from organic results in SEO versus paid ads. So, paid ads, there's nothing wrong with paid ads. If they give you a return, then that's fine. But the nice thing about the main difference between paid ads and SEO is that with paid ads, you always have to spend money. And so if you want more sales, then you have to spend more money towards ads. Or like right now with things going on with the coronavirus, if you can't spend as much and you have to protect your money a little bit, then you end up getting less traffic because you can't spend as much on ads. But with SEO, it's the opposite. The only downside to SEO is that it takes time. But if you have the patience to do it, once you start seeing the results, then it's not as crazy as paid ads, because then you're not always spending money. And so it's slowly increasing your rankings, which brings more traffic, which brings more sales. And so it's just a matter of patience. So instead of having to throw more money with paid ads, as long as you just allow more time with rankings, then it just continues to climb. So when the coronavirus started hitting, our clients are still just fine because they don't have to worry about their budget. They don't have to change their ad spend. We just
Yeah.
continue doing SEO, and they don't have to worry about paying more or less or stopping their budget or stopping their leads.
Wow, lovely, great. Damon, tell me one thing. You've really accomplished so much, and you're a young boy, okay? So how does it feel? No, of course. I mean, come on. I mean, the last time when we spoke, you had already appeared 17 times, and today, now that we are talking, you're already 18 times on Forbes. Such a young age. What is it? I mean, what's happening? How does it feel when you sleep at night? How does it feel appearing on Forbes list so many number of times? How does it feel?
It's a cool accomplishment, but I'm a little bit, maybe I'm a little bit different than other people. I don't, I have a goal, and so then I accomplish that goal and then move on to the next thing. So I don't often stop and say, I'm done, or that was amazing. I always have something new to move on to. So I do have to stop for me to realize how exciting it is. Otherwise, I just move on to the next project. So, as you said, when we talked a while back, it was 17 times being featured in Forbes. And so then I just moved on to the next piece of content, the next feature, the next project. And so when it's 18 times, it's just like, okay, what's next? And so I don't, it's exciting,
Yeah.
but I don't just stop there, and then I just move on to whatever the next accomplishment I wanted to go to.
Wow, that's so amazing and that's so inspiring, so motivating. Thank you so much, Damon. Tell me one thing, when you look back, what is that one thing that really brings a smile on your face? You've really accomplished a lot and we are really proud of you. But that one thing that gives you good night's sleep, that one thing that really makes you smile when you're with your family, when you are with your team. So what is that one message you would like to give to people?
I think I'll answer this a couple different ways. So what makes me proud is the ability to have the freedoms of, being able to not work 20-hour days as a business owner, because and that's because I've built processes. And so I'm really
Yes.
proud of the fact that I've documented our processes, and then I can trust my team with those procedures because I'm confident in their ability to produce good results because I took the time to document those processes. And so that's what contributed to it. But then because of that gives me the freedom to, leave in the middle of the day to go walk my kids to school or walk them home, or, in a normal day when they had school before the coronavirus. But,
Yeah.
it gives me the
Yeah.
freedoms to set my own schedule. And so it's really nice to be able to say, hey, I made an intentional effort to create those freedoms, and now I have them. And so that's exciting.
Wow. Lovely. Great. Damon, it's really inspiring to have been speaking to you. Give us your one power message as we would like to wind up this lovely conversation, enlightening conversation, a very useful conversation with you. Give us one power message to everybody who's listening to you today, how to fight the odds and come up in life. What is your one power message to everyone? We know you're a great leader.
Yeah.
We know you're a great leader and you're a very popular leader with people. We know that about you. So what is your message?
I would say just to kind of stay humble, and the thing with social media is that glorifies success, which is good, but you have to earn those wins. And social media doesn't show you the processes that the people had to get to before those accomplishments. And so you have to look at it more simplistically. And I would say two things. One is start. So whatever it is that you want to start, whether it's a project or a business or a new entrepreneur journey, you have to start. Don't overthink it. It's better to start with minimal plans than to overplan, because even when you overplan or plan at all, most of those plans change once you actually start. So you're going to learn more by starting your thing than by trying to plan for it. And then the second thing is, once you start, don't stop, because that's what I was talking about with social media. Everybody sees, well, my friend is successful or this person is successful and they've accomplished these things, but they don't know that that person's been doing it for 10 or 20 years. It just shows the last exciting thing from the last 10 or 20 days. So start and then don't stop.
Great. Thank you so much, Damon. Thank you so much for, energizing all of us and putting that capsule and jolt of energy into all of us with your wise words. Thanks a lot for coming on board and speaking to my audiences. Thanks a lot, and wish you all the best and a great life, and stay corona negative.
Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity to chat. I appreciate the time.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, Damon.
That was Forbes contributor, search engine guru Damon Burton for you. It's all about creating a website that loads easily. Have leaner pictures on your website so they are easily loadable. Have pages that are different from one another with no repetitive information on them. Have clear to action elements on your pages for clients and customers to navigate from one page to the other. Use Schema for Google to identify words at what actually they are meant for. I hope these tricks really work for you and get you better traction on your websites, your blog pages, and your WordPress pages. For more on Google search engine optimization, you know Damon Burton is your best bet. I wish you all the best and stay tuned for more.